Okay, I'm back. He wanted some more food, which is a great sign. Anyway, so the officer who was shot had originally positioned himself somewhere toward the front of the car. Now he wasn't obviously directly in front of it, but it looked like he was positioned somewhere toward the left headlight, so that when she began to move, and they were telling you, yelling at her, so get out of the cars. So she turned. So he's standing there by the front headlight. She turns the car to the right and starts inching. She was going maybe 2 miles an hour, barely moving, inching away from him because she wanted to escape. Now I'm not saying she should have been wanting to escape. Don't get me wrong on that. When an officer tells you to stop, you stop. She didn't. She kept on going. So she was moving the car to the right and barely inching along. Apparently, the car touched this guy's leg, didn't do any damage to him. He was able to jump back and position himself at some point in time. I'm not sure what the exact sequence was. At some point in time, he shot, I think, from that position where he was when she touched him into the front of the car. Then the car kept moving, and he was then at the side of the car and about 2 feet away, and he put two more shots straight into that window. So he shot three times, one possibly from somewhere in the area of the front of the car, the other two clearly from the side window. Now they were fast. Boom, boom, boom. It was like a triple tap. But he was not standing in front of the car when he finished shooting at her, which means if he killed her with the first shot, he didn't need the other two shots. If he didn't kill her with the first shot and he killed her with one or both of the other two shots, that means that she was still alive while he was to the side of the car and in no danger from that car whatsoever. So no matter how you look at it, he was not in any danger when he fired the second two shots, and and undoubtedly not in any real danger when he fired the first shot, because all the car did was barely touch him, and he was not injured in any way, shape, or form, and he was out of the way within a fraction of a second after that happened because he was firing bullets at him. So, but the most disturbing thing perhaps about this whole thing is that you're told in every law enforcement agency there is says if you do not ever put yourself in a position where you could possibly be the victim of the automobile of a person you're trying to arrest while they're in the automobile. In other words, idiot, don't stand in front of a car if you're telling the person in the car that you're trying to arrest them. So just get off to the side. You don't have to stand in front of that car. You're not supposed to use your body to prevent them from moving. The second thing I heard, which is just absurd, was, well, yeah, but you have to look at the circumstances. And this ICE agent had recently been dragged by another car, and he could have been seriously injured in this, that, and the other, and he still had that in his mind. The test isn't what's in the mind of the particular individual who shoots and kills somebody. The test is, did he act reasonably under the circumstances, not his circumstances, but these circumstances, as a reasonable person in that position. He was not a reasonable person in that position. He was an unreasonable person in that position because he had been subjected to some unreasonable, unfortunate treatment prior to this happening, and that was what impacted him, and I think caused him to react the way he did. He was responding to what had happened to him a week or so ago. So there is no justification in the world for this guy, under the reasonable standard, number one, standing where he was, and two, reacting the way he did. He clearly murdered somebody, and I call it murder. He can call it first degree murder, whatever he wanted to do. But it was clearly the intentional taking of a human life when he didn't need to. He didn't have to protect himself. His life was not in danger. Nobody else's life was in danger. And as the victim's wife said to this fellow, "You don't need us. You don't need us to grab us now. You know where we are. Here's our license plate. You know where we live. You can come there." They just wanted to get out of that scene, and I can't blame him for doing that, although I do think she acted with extraordinarily bad judgment. But it doesn't matter. That doesn't justify the death penalty, and that's what happened there. So those are just my thoughts. But I really get upset when I hear people making ridiculous arguments in favor of undefensible conduct. And this happens all the time. It happened when they killed those people in those boats out of in the waters off the coast of Venezuela. There's no excuse for killing people who are floundering in the water without protection. There's no excuse for a cop putting himself in that position and then killing somebody who was no threat to him at all. And as a result of killing her, the car went out of control, sped off down the road, and smashed into another car. Fortunately, nobody else was injured, but people could have been injured easily with that car being going forward without anybody controlling the wheel. It was a terrible conduct on his part, and I'm not so much blaming him because I think he was shell shocked from the last incident. I'm blaming the people who tried to come up with one crappy excuse after another, including Trump saying that she had run over this guy. He ran over him. Boy, he had a pretty quick recovery. Was run over by a car and was able to get back up on his feet in less than a second and fire 3 bullets into her head. That's pretty amazing recovery. I'm sure medical science is looking into that even as we speak. So anyway, I'm sorry, but it's just frustrating.